come out.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Thank you, council, for being here this evening. This is our agenda for the regular meeting held on Tuesday, April 29th. I'm going to call this meeting to order with an acknowledgement that we are here on Ehatchsatch Chinnikit land. Oh, that we are here, gathered here on the unceded First Nations land of Ehatchsatch Chinnikit First Nation. I'm going to move to approval of the agenda.
And second.
Okay. Questions or comments? I had one late item that I'd like added under item 4.3. And that will be a scheduling of the strategic priorities and orientation session. That'll be item 5.3. Other than that, any additions, deletions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? That's carried. Next, number 3. Minutes.
Second.
If somebody wants to move it, that would be great. No, just saying the items.
I move we adopt. Second.
March 22nd?
Yes.
Perfect. And thank you, Councillor Denise. Errors, omissions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Okay.
You, that's carried. Any opposed? That's carried. Item 4.1. I'm going to turn that over to CAO Nelson Smith.
Thank you. And I in turn will pass this over to Deputy Janice, who will present to council and any of the public the proposed 2025 to 2029 5-year financial plan.
Thank you for being here. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Just hold on one moment. Can everyone see that okay?
No.
No?
Oh,
Can you see anything? Yeah, okay. All right, so after several months of reviewing, discussing, and fine-tuning this budget, I am very happy to be here tonight presenting it to you all. This year's plan reflects what matters most to our community, which is supporting key projects that are already in motion, making smart investments, and continuing to manage our finances responsibly. Oh, did I lose you?
No, you're still there.
They're still there? Good. Can you see the screen moving?
No, the screen is no longer there.
Oh, come on, technology. Let me try resharing it. How about now?
Yep.
Okay. Is everybody on page 3?
Yes.
All right. So every year, our budget process helps us align financial planning with the needs of our community, any legislative requirements, and long-term goals. Like all municipalities, the village is required to balance its budget, and that means we can't plan to spend more than what we bring in. We're not allowed to run a deficit. We also have to make sure that there's room for public input before finalizing the plan. So tonight's presentation is part of that consultation process, but it's not the only opportunity that we've provided. All of our budget meetings have been open to the public, and residents have had the chance to comment along the way. This year, we put a strong focus on strategic infrastructure and service investments, while all managing the rising costs that we're all seeing, something that we're feeling as a local government level just as much as the residents are at home. So on this page, page 4, you'll see the 2025 proposed revenue. For 2025, our operating cost is projected at just over 1.8 million, and most of that is coming from grants and property taxes. So if you scroll to the next page here on page 5, you'll see that $1.8 million at the bottom there. Council has approved a modest 5% increase in the tax revenue, which brings in just about $11,000, just over $11,000 more than last year. It's important to remember that this doesn't mean that each individual will see their bill go up by 5%, as that depends on property class and assessment changes, but the revenue itself is seeing that 5% increase. The utility revenue covering services like water, sewer, and solid waste will be seeing a 4% increase for 2025, with scheduled increases of 5% each year from 2026 to 2028 to help offset any operating costs for each of the utilities. On this slide, you'll see the 2025 proposed expenses. We are budgeting 1.53 million for expenses, and that also includes the utilities. A big portion of our operating expenses goes to administration, along with protective services and public works. We're also making sure to put money into reserves and debt repayments to keep us on solid financial footing for the future. You will note on this slide here that there's a $310,000 to be transferred to reserves, and that was decided at a previous meeting. With a remaining $123,000 of surplus staying as surplus for contingency. Now let's take a look at the capital projects. We're carrying forward about $600,000 in previously approved projects. So on this slide here, you'll see in 2023, there was about $161,000 in outstanding projects. And on this slide here, you'll note the outstanding projects from 2024 that total about $440,000. These include works on the floatplane dock, trail upgrades, and improvements to public buildings and properties. In 2025, there are a number of new projects to be included as capital. We've added about $267,000 in new capital projects, and they include upgrades to the municipal dock, new equipment for the fire department, replacing the backhoe, and upgrades to our SCADA system, which monitors the water and sewer systems. You can see that nice zero at the bottom. That means that our budget is balanced. On the slide here, you'll see the anticipated revenue by share. You'll see that when we break down the revenue by source, we're expecting more than half of our revenue, 57%, to be grant funding at $984,000 in total. This includes recurring grants like the Small Communities Grant and gas tax funding, along with project-specific grants like dike maintenance, as well as being reimbursed for grants that have where the projects have been recently completed or will be completed this year. So fiscal revenue is the next in line on this slide, which is comprised of revenue from tax penalties, interest on arrears and delinquent taxes, as well as any income projected from our investments that we have in GICs and with the Municipal Finance Authority's Pool Investment Fund. And as you can see on this slide as well, only 15% of our anticipated revenue is actually from property taxes. On the expenditure side of things, the largest shares goes to administration, which includes insurance, legal expenses, audit, amongst other administrative operating costs. 20% of the budgeted expenses are capital projects previously highlighted on the previous slides, and 15% for parks and public works, which includes any fleet maintenance, parks maintenance, and other public works operating costs. On this slide, you'll see the tax distributions and ratios. Residential properties in Zeballos still carry the most significant share of the tax base. They likely will forever. at just under 59%, while utilities, business, and industry make up the remainder of the total. Just a note that the total is for the general municipal levy only. We do collect taxes on behalf of other agencies. However, they're just filtered through to each individual agency. We know that inflation is affecting everyone, and council has worked really hard to keep the increases as modest as possible, while still addressing important community needs as our operating costs continue to rise. On the next two slides, you'll see that there are the funding sources for each of the capital projects. And this year, we're drawing from a variety of sources such as reserves, surplus, and grants. In some cases, we're also using gas tax funding, also known using gas tax funding and surplus, which is it's the excess tax revenue that we've accumulated over previous years. You see that some of the sources are grant to be determined, which indicates that the project will not commence until grant funding has been awarded for those projects. And this approach helps us make needed investments without putting too much pressure on the taxpayers. On page 15 here, you'll see the breakdown of how total outstanding and planned projects are funded, whether it be surplus, reserve, or grant. And to wrap up, the 2025 budget is really all about balance, with the intention of meeting the current village needs, planning responsibly for the future, and continuing to invest in projects that benefit the community. Also, a big thank you to our staff, council, and community members for their work and input throughout this whole many months long process. The public now has an opportunity to provide any input or feedback, and the 5-year financial plan bylaw, which incorporates the 2025 budget, will be considered for first, second, and third readings later on in this evening's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Janice. I will turn to council. Do you have any questions about our budget presentation this evening? Questions, comments?
All pretty clear to me.
Not seeing any. That's what I was going to ask was about the public public comment period. But we'll do that later in the meeting, and we don't have anyone here in office and in the gallery anyways. So, but what you provided here is accessible. It's very accessible. It's well laid out. It's really readable. It's user friendly. It's an ambitious one for capital projects for sure, and counting, the last few years plus this year's what we've tasked our public works with. But it's really, the presentation itself is really easy to read, and thank you for that. I think that being just a layperson, it will be quite obvious where we're going and what we're doing. So, congratulations to you and to Claudia as well, and to the CAO and Public Works and to this council. Thank you. I think that's all. You don't need to receive it because it's in our package. It's already been received. And we'll look forward to that later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to 4.2, sale of the 1984 GMC engine 22. CAO Nelson Smith.
He's further on this.
Myself. I'm going to take this one. So I have a different there is a recommendation in the report, and I have a different resolution to go forward. I talked to, as it refers to in the report, I had a conversation with the administrator from New Chatlet, Sarah Jensen. And their issue with the pumper truck with taking that was that they didn't have enough people that could use it. There was so many people that had to be trained in order to take possession of it, to use it. I talked to her again this morning, And she confirmed that, yes, they're going to take it, they're going to store it out at Ukaji. And so the resolution that I was going to put forward is that the Village of Zeballos write to New Chatlet First Nation, asking them to confirm the receipt of the gift in writing of Engine 22. And that should be enough for them to answer us and say, yes, we do. And then they can make arrangements to store it however they see fit. So the motion would be that the Village of Zeballos write to New Chatlet First Nation, asking them to confirm receipt of the gift of Engine 22.
Second that. So,
Denise.
you're, so confirming receipt?
Yep.
Or confirming,
Confirm the gift.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't it, are we confirming they want it? They haven't received it.
Okay, so confirming
Okay.
the gift and making arrangements for receipt.
And,
That I would take that as a friend.
and the second thing, are we,
Confirming.
is it insured?
CAL Nelson Smith.
Currently, it has storage insurance on it.
Okay.
So in order to transport, you would have to get either temporary insurance or.
Maybe, maybe we should think about that. And how we're gonna get it to them. Because, them confirming they want it and them having it in their possession. Or, so I think. Would it be easier for maybe us to get a 3-day permit on it and bring it to them? Because it's already in our name. And then it's in our control. And we can drive it over there for them, and I'm sure that would be quite a nice gesture. They would receive it quite nicely if we did that for them. And that way, we're in control, it's off our property, they have it. We do the transfer of ownership prior to that. Does everybody think that would be a smart idea? Because part of the challenge is get it to be gone.
Through the CAO.
However, council directs, yeah, those are definitely viable solutions in getting it there. Just ensuring that it is signed over to their ownership prior to our insurance.
Okay, I have Councillor Deck on the speakers list.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be a nice thing to do, but we are doing a nice thing by giving them the truck. So if it's a gift, those are the transfer papers, gift, they can insure it and take it to their place. I only think that's fair. You want to put gas in it too, or a more conservative? But when it'll happen? Oh, you see what I mean?
So right now,
Mhm.
I've rewritten it to take care of what you had spoken to. So it
Mhm.
says that the Village of Zeballos write to New Chatlet First Nation confirming the gift of Engine 22 and work with the VOZ for receipt of the gift.
Nice.
That's kind of encompasses and allows for however that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Forget I said.
Well, if there may be something that they may, I'm not sure how it will work, and I would leave that to staff to work those on those pieces out. There may be a large truck going to Cayuga that they could put it on, that they would, you know, I'm not sure how that would happen, what that looks like.
No.
Um,
No, pardon me, I'm a little thick, but I get it now. Okay, so, yeah.
Okay, perfect. For receipt of the gift. Okay, so, did I get a seconder that the village write to New Chatlet First Nation confirming the gift of Engine 22 and work with the Village of Zeballos for receipt of gift?
Councillor Deck.
Perfect. Any other conversation, questions? Is there anything that you need from us? Perfect. All right, thank you so much. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
She is.
This is the, oh, I'm not seeing my part written down. It's on the new one.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so that's that dealt with, item 4.3. So this is a new item that I've asked you, I've put on the menu. I emailed you all today to ask that you check your schedules. We need to get a strategic priorities and reorientation session. We need a date for that, so I hope you've all come prepared with your availability. We need to do that in probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. I will start throwing things out there unless someone has a specific date that they want to be here for and they'd like to offer first. We're looking at the second week in May now. So May 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Is there any days that nobody is there? Councillor Deck, I saw you first, then I'll come to you, Councillor Copeland.
Any May day after the 8th, I'm good, because I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay. So anytime after the 8th, Councillor Copeland,
How long is it?
CAO Nelson Smith, you're the CAO.
Thank you. Either one standing alone. If we're going to do strategic planning, I would ask for at least a 6-hour day. And that wouldn't include orientation. So I think we may want to split it into 2. They're 2 different sessions. So I think council will need to ask their question, what would they benefit from most? Reorientation and orientation, or going through strategic planning.
And we can't do both of those at the same time.
It'd be a very long day.
Okay. Okay, then I guess we need to set 2 days. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so we'll need the orientation session first to know kind of what we're dealing with. So let's do that. And any day after and how long would that be that day?
I believe our last one was 4 hours.
4 hours. So an afternoon, a morning, whatever, anytime after the 8th. Availability. I can do the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay,
20th.
20th of May.
Mhm.
Okay. Everybody else? Councillor Lewis?
I can do the 20th. I can't do the 9th. I've got surgery.
Okay, 20th of May. You're good for the 20th of May?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll say yeah, but a lot of things that could come up, but yeah.
Do you prefer having an evening? Do you prefer a morning? Let's work with, you're available all day that day on the 20th?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll
As
try.
well as yourself?
I'll try and make the 20th. I'll commit to the 20th.
Okay.
Yeah,
Morning, afternoon,
whatever suits everyone.
evening?
Is that a Tuesday?
Yes, it is. Oh,
I'm good all day.
is that a council day?
Yeah.
No,
So not-
20th. Do we want to do an evening? Want to do it early?
I would suggest you do it early and then have lunch.
Great idea.
Suggestion.
Maybe
So
early.
8:30, 8:30 or something, and then we can,
Oh, 6:30.
8:30 a.m. Tuesday, the 20th.
sound like a fisherman. So,
Take those.
does that sound good? Does everybody think that's cool? Yeah.
No, that's good. I can get my nap in that way.
Okay, and then we want to do a strategic priorities session afterwards. That's going to be an 8-hour day. 6, you said?
6 to 8. I think it was a full day last time when we had somebody leading us through it.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure, please.
Let's put it out on the 20th. The strategic priority day. Why don't we pick our day on the 20th together?
Okay.
Because then we'll have a little clearer sight for the next couple of weeks after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely does.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion is that the CAO schedule a orientation and reorientation session at the Village of Zeballos at 8:30 a.m. Tuesday, May 20th.
Sounds good.
That's in writing. We can hand that to him. Yeah, making things easy on you.
Oh, you got a new notepad?
No, it's always been here.
First time ever seen
Just
it.
making use of it.
Actually, I think I handed.
Was there a-
Presentation.
It was. Was there a second?
Yes.
Perfect. All in favor?
Hey,
Any opposed? That's carried. And then just as a sidebar for you to make sure that we're planning that as part of that reorientation.
Yeah.
Amazing. Next, we have delegations petitions. Hello. I think we have an actual delegation here this evening. So to the CAO to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor Colburn. So as we know, we've struggled finding an emergency preparedness coordinator for some time. One that is looking after Zeballos and the communities out in the valley here. We're extremely lucky to get a verified, certified emergency planning coordinator who has so much experience. I'd like to introduce Kathy Denham.
Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be working in your communities. I guess a little bit about myself. I've lived in the North Island for 40 years plus. My last work was with the Regional District of Mount Waddington and doing emergency planning, and I focused on areas like Winter Harbor, Holberg, Sontula, Old Quatsino, and I've been doing that for about 4 years. I moved down island for a couple of years ago as I've got some elderly parents, but I'm really happy that I'm happy to be working back up here. Just a brief update on what I've been doing. I pretty well started this position in February. So I've had the opportunity to come to your area about 3 times. So what I've really been doing is just looking around, looking at supplies, looking where things are at, and then coming up with, with a priorities list. One of the things that I really like to do is, one, to do some education within the community, as well as doing an evacuation plan. So I know when I came last time, a while ago, Pete had asked me if I would go look at the supplies, because that's part of what I've been doing is I've been going to all the CCANs and making lists. And so I went up as Pete requested and went into the room in the community hall. And there is just a wealth of emergency supplies up there. Certainly they'll need some work, but I'd like to get back in there and tackle that again. Is there any questions or anything I can give you more information on?
And I'll turn to, lovely to meet you. Thank you for coming this evening. And is there any questions for our emergency program coordinator? Councillor Deck.
When do we expect to see you next in Zeballos?
I'm thinking of probably the end of this month. And it's emergency preparedness week. So I've just started to look at that and think my plan is to come at least once or twice a month into the communities. But I think that's the week I'm looking at with some possible planning on some emergency preparedness events. Not quite sure what that'll be yet, but I'm just looking at and see about bringing information, maybe having one-on-one chats with people. I haven't quite figured that out, but I will. And then let you know what my objectives are in that week. We have Ukwiti has a new emergency coordinator. His name is Brian, and we've been touching base and starting to work together quite frequently. So he's just brand new. Yeah, I think that's when I'm planning on coming next. Sometimes I'll stay in McNeil and, the first night, and then I'll come down here for a few nights. But thank you for having me in your community.
Anything else from council? CEO Nelson Smith.
Thank you. I think Kathy's being modest. She's actually started to do a lot more work than just look at our supplies. She's currently updating our emergency contact list, which I believe the last time that was done was around the wildfire.
2008, Pete.
Oh, so even older.
Yeah.
She's also looking at finishing our emergency evacuation plan, which was previously started right when I started here in 2022. So Kathy's having a look at that to finalize that and make it usable for the community. And also is going through our emergency preparedness plan and ensuring that it's a fit for Zeballos, not just a generic plan, which often small communities receive, but given her experience in Holberg, Winter Harbor, she's going to make it specific to Zeballos and how it can work for us.
Thank you for that. I have a couple of, does anybody else have any questions? No. I have a couple of questions. And I'm guessing you haven't probably formulated yet, but what do you need from council in the way of any, I'm sure that you have been, wait, let me try and phrase this properly. Let's gather my thoughts. Some on council and some in the village have taken some training to do with emergency preparedness events. We've done tabletop exercises and things like that. Is there anything that you'll be requiring coming forward or offering coming forward for us or requiring us to do as council? That's the first one.
Well, for sure I can, provide some information. I like the idea of an exercise, certainly, a tabletop at least. I guess the other thing I'm looking for you is to be able to chat and maybe get some direction from council. So that was one question. Did you have a?
I did, and the other one was we had talked last time we received a funding source. I think it was for building the evacuation routes. We had talked a lot about building evacuation kits for both our residents and our hoteliers, for the people who are coming into community that are renting rooms and perhaps get left in a hotel when there's a tsunami. Like all the strange things happen in Zeballos. We have had people left in hotel rooms when there has been a tsunami alert. So, these kind of things we're trying to prevent in the future. So I was just wondering if you had any experience or any, want to do that. But I guess since you just spoke about getting direction from council, that may be a conversation for us to have in this room and maybe set some goals or some bars of what we envision. So maybe that's not really a question to you, but I just wanted to make you aware that that was something that we had been discussing, is something to let visitors, which we have a lot of during the summer, know what they're required to do and where those sites are and how to get there and what the process is.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I was working on through the Mount Waddington Regional District, is reaching out to the tourist operators. There's some booklets that should be ready soon. I think information is really key, not, just to talk about all the situations that could happen, copies of the evacuation plan, copies of, wherever there's some muster sites. So that's pretty high on my agenda because, Zeballos is like some of the other areas are very quiet in the winter and then suddenly it explodes with tourists. So, yeah. That's something that, like I said, is at the top of my agenda, is to work with the tourism operators.
Perfect.
Can I add something to that?
Thank you so much. Councillor Copeland had a question.
Yeah, Kathy, we'd spoken at the end when you were here. We'd spoken about doing like, tests or
Yeah.
not tests, exercises for motels. And I think there should be a little more involvement in that, if you could focus on that maybe. For example, how long does it take to do a room check of how many rooms you have there, so we don't leave anybody behind? And I think we've spoken about that too.
Yeah, we did. We talked about that. And then I mentioned that to Erin. And I think she certainly would be willing to let you help you go through the exercise. Or when I come back at the end of the month, we could do that then too.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments from anybody else? Hearing none, thank you for bearing with us for that first part of the agenda. Thank you for being here this evening. I'll look forward to meeting you in person next time. I wasn't here at the last events that we had, which just passed. They
Yeah.
they were fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to working with you. Welcome to the team.
Thank you so much. I look forward to coming back again. All right, good night. I won't take up any more of your time with your meeting.
Thank you. Have a great
Okay.
evening.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we are on to 6.1, ABICC feedback requested reforming local government act roadmap, CAO Nelson Smith.
Just correspondence for council, if you would like to do something with it, happy to see that happen.
I believe we all get emails from ABICC, is that correct? Do you guys get emails from ABICC? For Vancouver Island Coastal Communities? Yeah, perfect. I've already answered. It's here if you want me to resend it to anybody or anything like that. This is not a per organization thing. This is individual, so if you'd like to take time to take the survey, that would be great. Village of Zeballos monthly operations report. CAO Nelson Smith.
Nothing further,
And
thanks.
I don't, there's no one here from the department tonight, but is there anything that CAO Nelson Smith could pass on or anything to anybody? Questions, comments? Seeing none. On to the CAO's operations report. Do you have anything to add to this? No questions or comments for the CAO then? I had one. Minimal interest in free tax clinics. Were there any?
Yes,
Okay. So it's not, it is still worthwhile.
yes.
Perfect, just making sure. I had a how many, but I don't need to know that as long as it was utilized. All right. CAO Nelson Smith.
Thank you. Although not included in this week's agenda, we do have our Public Works Foreman, Hudson Mahalik, here. If there is any questions about Public Works, unfortunately, he was ill at the time that the reports were due.
Right, exactly. So is there anything you'd like to share, or is there any questions of council that?
Yeah, happy to answer questions.
Copeland?
I don't know what the responsibilities are for removing a burnt house, I think is gone. And the house next door to it is being torn down too. I don't know what the status of that is, who's responsible for that.
I believe those are on the homeowner, but I CAO Nelson Smith, I'll ask you to.
That's
Thank
a line conversation you and I can have.
Yeah.
It's not a council.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether you know responsible.
No.
Okay, that's my question.
Responsibility of homeowner. To you, Councilor Deck, questions
Thank
for
you,
the CAO?
To the CAO, to the Public Works. What happened to that nice speed bump? It's gone.
I figured this question would come up. Yeah, so we installed it, I want to say that Thursday. And then, Sean was on his coverage run that morning, 2 days later, and notified me that they were ripped off the ground and thrown into the ditch. I had no idea who vandalized it or who tore it up, but that is what we came across. Yeah.
As I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? I'm curious. I know it's a lovely job, but the ramp out front. Did you move the flower pots because of the added in burnability of them?
Just
That's the fire smart, that's part of that fire smart process?
like the garden bed on the side coming up.
Yeah, no, the actual beds.
Oh, the
Yeah.
beds that are right here.
Yeah,
I would just move them just for accessibility when we were taking out the ramp and all that stuff, but they are, can easily be moved back.
no, they look great and everything. I was just wondering if that was part of this fire smart was to get combustibles away from the building.
There,
That was my
I
question.
don't think they're too bad as far as combustible. I want to get some grass growing in, where we had torn up kind of this dirt and where we had laid some dirt and, I'm happy to put them back or, relocate them.
It's not neither here nor there to me. I just was wondering if that was part of that project.
Yeah.
That's all. And through to Councillor Deck.
Excuse me. To the CAO, to Public Works. I'm concerned, how is your arm?
My arm, it's very good.
It's going in the right direction,
Yeah, we're winning.
so you'll be with us for a while.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else for anybody? All right, so then we are moving on to staff report, spring cleanup plan through to the CAO.
Thank you, nothing further.
Any questions to ask of the CAO? We have one on that one, I believe. There is a recommendation included in here that someone could move, but I was wondering before anybody moved it, if there is an appetite to add and work with the Strathcona Waste Management for an event to happen during that week. Or if that is something that you just want to, as staff, figure if anything's going to happen.
We typically work with them anyway.
Mhm.
It's just part and parcel of that, of the service that we provided every year. Yeah, and if they have capacity to do something bigger, then we'll definitely work with them.
Okay, that was my question. It was just no events or was there a plan for that or you were just seeing? So thank you. So if someone wants to move the recommendation as written, that would be great.
The landfill tipping fees?
Yeah, count page 36, yes.
Okay, I move that we follow the recommendation that Zeballos landfill tipping fees, excluding construction and demolition waste fee, waived for the month of May, and that curbside pickup opportunities for large items be made available to the public during the month of May to encourage spring cleaning and property beautification. Second.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Janice. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next, we are moving on to bylaws. So bylaw 557, the 2025 traffic and parking, final reading and adoptions. The anyone else at Smith, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Nothing further to this, thanks.
Through to council, any questions or comments? There's also a recommendation on page 38.
I'll move that, traffic and parking bylaw 557-2025, you see fourth final reading. Second.
Anything further for anyone? I think I said this last meeting, but with all of the next 5 bylaws in here, good work, staff, good work. So I won't say it for all of them. I'll encompass them all right here. Thank you for pushing us forward into the 21st century, allowing us to have those conversations and really get to where we need to be moving forward and not being quite so reactive, behind, and subsidizing. You get what I mean.
Here.
Okay, so all in favor for fourth and final reading?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Moving on to the 5-year financial plan. First, second, and third. Reading. Anybody want to move that?
Move the bylaw 5602025 Village of Zeballos 5-year financial plan between 2025 and 29 be given a first, second, and third reading.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments? Hearing none, many thanks to Deputy CAO Janice and Ms. Frost in the finance department. Hearing nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Moving on to the annual tax rate. We're doing first, second, and third of this one as well.
I'll move that bylaw 561/2025 Village of Zeballos annual tax rate bylaw be given a first, second, and third reading.
Second.
Thank you for that. Questions or comments? As the Councillor Deck.
I don't. Yes, I have no problem with this at all. 5% seems like a big deal, but when you see how many dollars that is, not that. So I would figure.
Perfect. Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. We're doing revenue anticipation and borrowing bylaw, CAO Nelson Smith. This is just housekeeping. We do this every year. What would you like to speak to it?
Absolutely. I can speak to this. So, as we work off a 5-year financial plan, as you can see, we're going to be in May prior to this budget being adopted. We have to have the ability between January and when the bylaw is adopted, and this is more to the 5-year financial plan, to continue to do business. But also, if things suddenly go sideways for some reason, we have to have the ability to do loans through our banking institute. And this bylaw allows them to know what that income would be, and it verifies that that this is the amount that we can borrow through this bylaw, if necessary, which.
And I don't think there's been a time that we've ever had to, but it's that lull between the January 1st of the year and when our taxes start coming in July, right? So it's every municipality, I'm sure at regional districts, we do this. It's just a guarantee that our bills will still be paid before the taxes. So thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions?
One question.
Councillor
The
Deck?
CAO, please. Are the Republicans on board with this? To keep the lights on?
I don't think we have any in Canada.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Oh, wait, I'm gonna ask somebody to move that we do first, second, and third.
I will move that fees and charges amendment by law.
There's no report with this one.
What do you want to do then?
It's first, second, and third.
So we're gonna, if somebody could move the first, second, and third reading of the revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will, and it's bylaw number 5622025.
Perfect. Second that, there we go, switch it up. Questions, any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Hey,
Any opposed? That is carried. Moving on to fees and charges. We're doing first, second, and third of this. Did you want to speak to this? Oh, sorry. I'm looking to you to see if there's anything extra. I know I moved through the 5-year financial and tax rate, but we had the presentation, so I thought, okay, perfect. Fees and charges. Does somebody want to do first, second, and third reading of this as
I
well?
moved for second, third reading or the fee and charges amendment bylaw number 563-2025.
Second.
Questions or comments? Hearing none. Thank you for going through this the fine tooth comb in providing all of this information to us. It's definitely appreciated and gets us more in line with where we want to be. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Carried.
Not opposed.
Okay, we are on to rescinding council resolutions. CAO Nelson Smith.
Nothing further on this.
Perfect. So. Somebody could read the recommendation on page 78.
I'll move that the resolutions as listed be rescinded and the establishment of the select parks committee be repealed.
Taking that.
So that's listed in the April 22nd repeal of the Parks Committee item. Perfect. Questions or comments? I have a question. It says in the conclusion that we, by reviewing this report, that we're providing direction to staff. Do you want any further direction?
So let's just give us further direction.
I'm wondering if we can commit to having a parks item on every committee of the whole or every second committee of the whole to expedite this process, because it is a second in our strategic planning. I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. I think there are some really low hanging fruit to do with Parks and Rec. And now that we went out to community, but asked, we asked their input, and there was one person who was interested. I'd like to be able to schedule some things so that that person could come and participate if they'd like to. So is there an appetite for council to commit to something like that? That every committee of the whole or every second committee of the whole there be a parks item on that? I'm just putting that out there for discussion.
I move every second committee of the whole meeting, we have a section for parks.
Can you use that? Can that go onto that resolution and that?
No.
Or is it a second? You want them to start
Yeah, so
two?
we should ratify this first one that's on the table
Okay, perfect.
and then do this.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna call the question on the first recommendation, and that's the rescindent of all of the establishment of the Parks Committee. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and then Councillor Deck, that every.
Second committee of the whole,
Mhm.
we have a section for the parks we discussed.
Perfect. Is there a seconder for that? Okay. Seconder for that. And the reason I'm bringing it up for discussion here is because there probably is some lower hanging fruit, some attainable kind of goals that are in that. So if we could get at the next committee of the whole, the CAO to write a report on kind of which ones would be, attainable this year, possibly getting a grant for a columbarium or some of those smaller things to get some movement on it, so that we have some positive feelings about how the parks, and then maybe think to tackle some of the larger things in the winter to prepare for next year kind of thing, right? The public works is going to be extremely busy this year with our sewer project, with the parking, it's going to be a hard year. So is that okay that we suggest that the CAO kind of put some of those smaller, maybe low hanging fruit projects on for us to our discussion at least?
I think so, yes.
That sound reasonable? Right? Yeah. See if we can, Councillor Deck?
Yeah, and I think it's very important to keep the ball rolling.
Mhm.
And for the CAO to give Public Works a chance to get some things done in smaller time frames, because they're gonna be busy, sure.
Yeah. Our capital projects is extremely ambitious, 600,000 on old projects that haven't been done, and then another 2 this year. So,
Yeah.
for sure. Amazing. Okay. So that motion was to every second committee of the whole have a parks item And then just for staff direction to maybe write some of the smaller pieces in a report to us for our next meeting. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Councilor Dick, for making that. Letter to Rec Sites and Trails BC staff. Did you want to add to this?
Nothing further, thanks.
Councilor Lewis, thank you.
I just wanted to mention in the letter that there is outhouses there, but if they would do a paint and refresh and make sure nothing's rotted, it would be a bonus. Is this in the letter? It says replacement or of picnic tables and outhouses. They probably don't need to be replaced, but a clean out and fresh paint would be nice.
Or refurbation or refurbing. Yeah, so replacing or refurbing, whatever they're. That sounds like a reasonable request, Councilor Lewis. Anything else that anybody had on here? Okay. So you don't need a resolution to send it, but it looks good. I'm not seeing anybody waving their hand furiously like, I don't send that.
It'd actually be good to have in the resolution, if it came from a committee of the whole as a recommendation.
Perfect.
So a resolution, then we can get it tracked to make sure that works.
So I will make a motion that staff send the draft letter to Rec Sites and Trails BC. Presented at the April 22nd council meeting. Yeah,
Second.
send the letter from the April 22nd to Rec Sites, thank you, sorry, that was a little backwards. Sorry, I didn't have that one for you. Okay. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Councilor Deck. All questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you for that. And camera. I'll move that council go on camera under 91A labor and 91I advice that subject to solicitor client privilege.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? That's carried. Public question and comment period. Hello to the gallery. You know the rule.
Yes, Water Welch, I live in
Perfect.
this little town, just 2 doors over.
Hey.
I want to say that the ramp up front looks particularly great. Sorry to hear about the speed bumps, but I do believe that we should put cameras on a few of the streets around here because we have such a really lot to deal with. But an interesting thing happened watching something to do with trails on TV. They showed a picture of Minnie Parker. Did you see that? Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you all to carry on with the movie. Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Welch.
It's getting late, wasn't I?
Have a good night. All right, we've got rise and report. Anyone wants to move these, that we rise on these 2 items? Oh, see,
Thank you. These actually don't need to be motions. It's just, the motion's already been made. The resolution's already been made in camera, so they're just being brought out.
oh, so we don't need a motion to rise.
It's already been done.
Perfect, done, then, I'll take an adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second that.
Thank you. See you.